Hey everyone, wanted to jump on here real quick and let you take a look at something that I think is absolutely cool. And I promise you this is going to save you some time, because I already know it's going to save us a pile of time. If you're familiar with a lot of what we do, we have a lot of welding and cutting automation that we use here at the shop. We've got the two cobots, we've got the cobot plasma that we're working on. We just made an update to Johnny 4, which is actually the 4th unit Vectis has ever made that is still out there on the shop floor kicking butt. But we put Vectis's Quick Teach system on that unit, and when I first saw that come out several months ago, I looked at it and I thought, man, you know, that is really cool. Vectis, those guys are putting out really awesome stuff. But I didn't realize until I got it in my hands and got to working with it and trying it out and different things, how much this was going to be really ultimately a game changer on a unit, on a system that is already like crazy easy to set up and program. Vectis made it faster. If you know anything about welding automation, the things that you do when the arc is not lit cost you money. You're killing time in setups, you're killing time in programming. This Quick Teach is really going to help you out. And I'm going to make a point anytime that I find a tool or a machine or something that is beneficial to me, to share it with everybody, you know, because I feel like it's important information. That's the way I've found a lot of the machines and tools that I have is, you know, I've looked at different reviews, looked at different guys doing different things, different people doing stuff with them, and kind of developed my own ideas on how to do what I've got to do. And I'm going to show you a video here. No live arc shots today, sorry, but I'm just the main point of this to show you how simple something that is already simple has become. And so let's get to it. Okay, I've got this fireball tool square that I just threw up on the table here. Just give you an idea of some simple weld paths. Say you've got a part that you got to throw up there. You got to teach a couple weld paths around it. When you go to your UR caps, hit Quick Teach, and then that's it. It pretty much lines out what you need to do. You've got your weld parameters you can pull back up out of your weld parameters library. So let's start this here. So I'll free drive down to where I want to start my weld point, or my weld start point. And really with the Quick Teach, if you notice, I'm not worrying about gun angle or drag or pull angle. I'm gonna set my stick out to what I'm gonna use in arc, and I'm gonna just focus on the center of the wire, teaching that to teach that weld path. I hit the red button, held it down to start the weld path. You hit the red button just one tap to give it an end. Give it some time to load those points. So now I'm going to use a linear weld through. I just keep hitting that red button, loading points along my path as I go around, keeping in mind I've got to keep that spread out a little bit, because there is a limit to how close you can put those weld points together. And as you do that, you got the option to choose a linear weld through move or a circular weld through move. Say if you've got a bigger radius that you've got to weld around. But for this example, I'm just using linear weld through moves. And like I said, as I'm going around, I'm just hitting the red button logging those points. Not worrying about gun angle, not worrying about my drag angle or my push angle, however I'm going to set it up. Just focusing the center of the wire on the center of where the weld line is going to be. So I logged that last point as a weld end, just with one red button push. So now I'm going to free drive up out of the way. I'm going to hit the blue button, logs it as an air move. I'm going to free drive over to the other side of this part, keeping the weld torch up away from the part or any fixtures or anything. Log another air move. And as you can see, it's built all of my weld template, already logged all those points. So now I'm going to bring it back down, center of wire on center weld. I'm going to hold the red button down to start another weld start. As you can see, it's logging that point, added a new weld. Now you have a new weld template. So I'm going to free drive over, wire on center of weld path, red button one hit, it logs the point at the end of that linear weld, and just continue free driving around my point to point, hitting the red button once, logging each one of those points. Not only can this be beneficial, obviously, if you've got a one-off part or something that you got to throw up on the table and get welded out really quickly. Say you're in the middle of a job, you've got a little spot over there, you can get one or two parts out welded real quick in the middle of a production run or something like that. But as you can see, as it's building my weld template, it's gonna be very beneficial in my programming, because I'm essentially roughing in my program. And what I mean by that is I'm just logging all my points for that weld path. So as I prove that program out, when I go to do, say, like I go through and do a trial run with my weld blocked, I can go back through to every one of those waypoints and do some fine touch-ups on those waypoints using the pennant. So it'll get your program roughed in way quicker. You're not having to go back and forth from free drive or back and forth from the pennant to the part. Everything is right there in your hand. So I'm logging another final air move there. So now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the weld optimization. I'm going to hold the blue button down right there, bottom right, press and hold, and that goes to your weld optimization. So it's going to optimize your gun angle and your drag or push angle to a preset angle that you can go in there and set. So it's going to optimize that along the weld path that you just taught. And if you're roughing in a program, that's extremely helpful, because it takes out those 2 or 3 axes that you have to worry about if you're free driving from point to point to point, because every time you hit that free drive button, it relaxes the Cobot arm, and you might be maybe 1 or 2 degrees of angle off on your gun angle, or maybe your push or pull angle is kind of drawing closer to being almost perpendicular as you're going around a corner, that weld path optimization takes a lot of that guesswork out, really polishes it, cleans it up. One thing you got to remember though is, because you're, yeah, and here you can see it's going through each weld through in your weld template. You got to remember though, when you are using the Quick Teach, because you're using weld optimization, you got to make sure that you're giving the cobot plenty of room to move around and not get itself in a bind, because you can teach a weld path that you might typically teach conventionally, either with free drive or the pendant, and be able to make it work. But when you go into trying to teach the same weld path with the Quick Teach, it might overextend, or you might hit a limit or a travel limit or something like that, because it's trying to keep that gun angle and that push and pull angle all the way through that path. So it's going to do whatever it has to do to maintain that. So just keep in mind, you might get an over travel or hit a safety limit on your working envelope if you're trying to go too far. So I haven't really found, well, I take that back. I found one limit working maybe a little bit closer to the end of the table, say like 6-8 inches away from the cobot from where this part is now. But right in there is really the sweet zone. So there you go. So now you've got your program roughed in. You can go back to those waypoints, touch them up, and then you can go back in your weld parameters. You can adjust your weld parameters just like you would a normal program. So extremely easy to get that program roughed in and get up and welding.